liberal bigotry. The background for this has been the flutter of interest that was generated on Fox News by Tucker Carlson when he interviewed a gentleman named Shelby.
Moral authority, you say, is the new goal of liberalism. Can you explain what you meant by that?
Well, in the 60s, America, for the first time, had to face its sins, the sins of the past, the racism, the slavery, the sexism, and so forth. This is where we evolved the liberalism that we still have today, which gives us a cover against that shame, a way to function in America and be, in a sense, above shameful America. Thus the sort of note of superiority in today's liberalism, this sort of moral superiority. We are the good, and regular everyday Americans are still associated with that evil past and cannot be trusted. This, I think, has a lot to do with the vitriol in regard to Donald Trump.
People like this essay that he had written for the Wall Street Journal because he seemed to do a very good synthesis and summary. What's eating liberals, basically? It's really driven by the recent protests that we've seen. I mean, you take, for example, the March 4th pro-Trump rallies around the country, and you had these violent pushbacks, both, I think, in Berkeley and in Portland. You have to ask yourself, and this follows on similar actions we've seen since Trump was inaugurated, these overly emotional, violent, destructive displays of liberal angst are making a lot of people wonder just what's going on with them. In the 60s, you could say that the nation woke up to, quote, its sins. Its sins with respect to racism, the rise of feminism, militarism. These things caused a lot of people to feel very uncomfortable about being an American, being in this country. So as a result, you had the search for a new level or area for moral authority. And that moral authority had to be one that defined itself against these evils, if you will. As a result of this, though, growing a pattern of, quote, stigmatization. So whites and white men primarily became the targets for a lot of people who felt that they were victims because of these sins in America's past. And that process of stigmatization has only grown and grown. Most people took what I regard as a simplistic approach to this and simply said, okay, you want to be good, that's bad, that's obviously bad, so I'm going to join with you and be good too. And I'm going to attack all those people that I think are bad as well. You know, quote, it worked. We see how the liberal agenda has grown over the years. But now the problem is that it's metastasized into this loss of sensibility. Anybody with half a brain can look at the way they're acting and say that they're out of their minds. So how far can you expect this to go? This could be the beginning of the end for the, quote, modern American liberal project. If they don't get a grip on themselves, they're going to find themselves politically out in the cold. When you look at the way these people talk, when you listen to the kinds of arguments they make, when you look at the slogans and signs and all the discussion that goes on, what I see, frankly, is a lack of self-reflection. It seems that a lot of liberals will, hew tightly to these beliefs without examining these beliefs. Is there a place where they might be wrong? Is there a better way to understand this? Have I misunderstood something here? And do I need to go back and take a closer look at some of the things that I've... No, there's none of that. And what we see with it, of course, is this inflexible, quasi-Marxist frame of reference that, as far as I'm concerned, is devoid of humanity, okay? By, pounding these slogans, talking about white privilege and all this other nonsense, they are almost in a way boxing themselves in, as far as I'm concerned. If they're not willing to look at people in terms of their particular circumstances in life, the exceptions, the strange exceptions you can encounter everywhere you go, then frankly you're being dishonest on a lot of levels, and as a result you also end up not being such a compassionate person after all, just another doctrinaire ideologue.